Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. A massive procession today at the funeral for a mother and two children who were found dead in their Harrow home. Plus, a 66-year-old Windsor man plans on biking around the world. We share his story tonight. And the grand opening of a new center for Cambodian Canadians who've been looking for a place to worship. Funeral services have taken place for 3 of the members of the Walsh family. That's after the entire family was found dead at their Harrow home last month. CBC Windsor's Dawson Chen reports on today's procession.
It was a somber scene here at family's first funeral home in South Windsor. A private service was held today for 3 of the members of the family who were found dead at their home in Harrow on June 20th. They were 41-year-old Carly Stannard Walsh and her children, 13-year-old Madison and 8-year-old Hunter. Visitation took place yesterday, and today, a long procession took them to Green Lawn Memorial Gardens for burial. Windsor police escorted the procession in unmarked vehicles. Traffic was halted for the procession, and some members of the public stood outside their vehicles to show their respects. Notably omitted from any of these arrangements is 42-year-old Stephen Walsh, Carly's husband and father of the children. He was also found dead at that home in Harrow. As of Tuesday morning, OPP have provided no update on their investigation into the 4 deaths. But we know that when officers arrived on the scene and found a deceased male, they initially reported suicide by firearm. Police have announced no arrests and have repeatedly assured that there is no risk to the public. Meanwhile, the community continues to mourn for Carly, Madison, and Hunter, and continues to wait for more answers. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
Police and fire officials were busy over the weekend responding to a few calls at a downtown high-rise. This afternoon, arson investigators started looking into a fire at 920 Olette. That's between Erie and Elliott Street.
And I was eating lunch, and all of a sudden I smelled gas. So my friend was cooking, and I said, "Do you shut off the stove?" And she said, "Yes." And I went to look, and it was shut. And then I went outside my door, and I smelled the gas. And I came down and told Justin and John. And they say, "Yeah, we smell it." And all of a sudden, when I came down from the 10th floor down, there was a lot of it. It looked like a smoke, but it was gas. So this place is going crazy. You know, too many things are happening.
No injuries were reported at the 24-story housing building. Residents were able to return to their units. Damage is estimated at less than $5,000. Now, in a separate incident at the same building on Saturday, Windsor police were seen rappelling down the high-rise while responding to what ended up being a 7-hour standoff. Police say they were initially called to the building for a report of a man discharging multiple fire extinguishers and then barricading himself inside of a unit. They say he brandished weapons, made threats, and threw items from his balcony. The 59-year-old man is facing several charges, including assault with a weapon. 4 NHL players charged with sexual assault while playing for Canada's World Junior team have not been re-signed to their respective NHL teams. Dylan Dubé, formerly with the Calgary Flames, Michael McLeod and Cal Foote with the New Jersey Devils, and Carter Hart with the Philadelphia Flyers were all on leave with pay. They'll now be free agents after the Sunday signing deadline passed. Former Ottawa Senator Alex Formenton was also charged in the assault case involving a woman at a hotel following a World Junior Gala in London in 2018. He remained on leave from his professional Swiss hockey team. All 5 players are pleading not guilty to charges late in January. They aren't expected to be in court until early September. They're all facing 1 charge of sexual assault. McLeod faces an additional charge of being party to an offense. Well, 2 people are facing a long list of charges after what Windsor police describe as a case of road rage. Officials say officers were also assaulted during the incident Sunday night. It all started with a vehicle driving northbound on Paulette Road with a 3-year-old inside. When that car was stopped, police say it was struck by a woman known by the other male driver. Soon after, police say the woman hit the vehicle again, causing substantial damage. When police arrived, officers say both the female and male drivers assaulted them as they were trying to make an arrest. The man is charged with several offenses, including assaulting a police officer and driving while impaired. The woman has been charged with assault with a weapon and assaulting a police officer, among other offenses. The Windsor Public Library has reached a tentative agreement with its 70 workers over the weekend, averting a strike that would have started Sunday. No details of the agreement are being released until it's ratified, but Board Chair Mark McKenzie says the deal does not involve cutting any hours. The union was concerned the board would cut hours during the week to offer more Sunday service. McKenzie would not say whether the deal involves more hours on Sunday.
So we said from the beginning we weren't going to be cutting any hours for the Windsor Public Library. And you know, we said we don't want to be cutting hours. If anything, we want to be expanding hours, and we want to be expanding services. And so we said from the beginning, and this was a board-wide directive, we said that we wanted to be open on Sundays because that's what the public was telling us.
You're never too old to take the journey of a lifetime. 66-year-old Don Martell has just embarked on his. He's biking around the world to raise awareness and money for the Alzheimer's Society. The CBC's Dale Malner caught up with him before he started his journey.
This is the big one.
Don Martell has covered a lot of distance on two wheels, cycling across Canada, but this journey will be his longest. He'll rack up about 30,000 kilometers. Martell hopes to bring in thousands for Alzheimer's because his mother died of it in 2022.
Well, my mom had dementia, and they were a huge help in the last year or so. And I do want to raise money for the Windsor Alzheimer's Society and visit Alzheimer's Society all over the world.
Martell is making the trip all alone. He's bringing a tent and a satellite phone, which he can be tracked on if he needs to be rescued. Most of his route, though, is still uncertain.
The scariest part of the trips, I would be going into countries that I have no idea what I'm getting into. But I've done these long distance trips before, and I will train as I go.
He says he may stay in people's homes along the way. His friends and family are, of course, concerned for his safety, but they are behind him 100%.
I think it's amazing. I think it's super brave, courageous, and a little crazy.
My heart goes with him. It took us 69 years to find each other. We're stepbrothers, and I found him through Ancestry DNA, and I think the world of him. He's, as I say, he does things differently than I do, but I'm so proud of him. Listen, love you, man, and it's been one of the great experiences of my life.
Martell's fundraising goal, $100,000, something the Alzheimer's Society is grateful for.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. That would do so much for our clients.
Okay, Don. Godspeed, Don.
The Alzheimer's Society will keep tabs on Martell over the internet through the journey. He is traveling through the U.S. first before going to Australia, then across Asia and Europe before completing the trek back from Newfoundland. Martell says he's going to take the trip at a leisurely pace. He expects it's going to take more than a year. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Cambodian Canadians in the Windsor area now have a new place to worship. They held a grand opening for their new Cambodian Buddhist temple on Howard Avenue in LaSalle over the weekend. About 300 people turned for the day-long festivities. Part of the colorful ceremonies included the traditional welcome dance. The temple will serve about 100 families in the area. They acquired the building in May. It was first built in 1988 as a Sikh temple. It's a monumental moment for the Cambodian community as it's the first time they have a temple of their own to worship in.
We've been in Windsor for 40 years. The Cambodian community here has moved here in the early 80s, late 70s. And we used to congregate in homes, in apartments, in community centers that we'd rent. And then we bought a house to put as a temple. But this is the first time where we actually have a real temple, a real place where we can come and just join and worship together.
For the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic, the annual Canada Day Parade flooded the streets of downtown, moving the route from the Walkerville area. Thousands lined the street of Olette to celebrate.
A big Canada Day!
What do you think of the parade being back in Olette?
I think it's a great idea. Everybody can, there's a lot of parking around here. I think it's a great idea.
It's amazing to be back at Outlets. It's nice and big, lots of space.
I think it's great, a lot more space.
I think it's awesome. It's very nostalgic for me. I remember being down here years ago watching it when I was much younger, so it's nice to be here.
Happy Canada Day. You bet, guys. Happy Canada Day.
Chris Potter is filling in tonight for Colette Kennedy. Chris, as you could see in that last piece, a gorgeous day to celebrate Canada, and another nice day today.
Yeah, gorgeous day today, along with yesterday. I mean, we had sunshine basically from start to finish, Mag. Obviously a dry weather day. It was also a dry weather day today, but a little bit more cloud did trickle in from time to time. Temperatures a little bit higher compared to yesterday, a little bit closer, if you will, to that seasonal norm of 27.3. In terms of where we are right now, still at 25 right now in Windsor, 25 as well in London, 22 in Toronto, and the humidity not necessarily a big impactful situation yet. But if you're a fan of high heat and high humidity, that will be the norm, if you will, over the next couple of days, thanks to a slight change in our overall weather pattern. A little bit closer to home, Chatham right now at 23, 24 in Sarnia, 23 in Goderich, feeling just a touch higher when you factor in the humidity, but these levels will increase noticeably into the day tomorrow. We do have a system moving in from the west. A lot of the shower activity, it's kind of breaking apart right now across Michigan as it moves off towards the east, towards Lake Huron. So we will stay dry as we head through the rest of this evening and into the overnight, and in fact will remain mostly clear. In terms of the overall weather picture for tomorrow, still drier rather than wetter. Even if you do get into a pop-up shower, it would move through the community very quickly. A few rumbles of thunder can't be ruled out as well, but I think the most instability that we're going to see from this little wave of active weather will reside well to the northeast and east of Windsor, Chatham, Kent. In terms of what will happen after that, Wednesday evening, we dry right back out, even if you do or do not see those showers, primarily through the early afternoon, and will remain clear to mostly clear through the overnight. A little bit more cloud moves in for Thursday, but no chance for active weather. At least that's what I'm expecting right now. Overnight lows, not so low. We're basically in the low 20s. Tomorrow afternoon, it looks like daytime highs will climb back up towards 30, and with the humidity, it will feel anywhere from 37 to 39. Very similar story as we step forward temperature-wise and humidex-wise into Thursday. Highs still at around 30. Friday looks to be the wetter of the days, with the opportunity for more organized wet weather moving through, especially during the afternoon and evening. Saturday we should clear out with highs near 26 and then 29 for us on Sunday. Meg.
All right, we've got some experience with that hot weather, that's for sure. Thanks so much for that, Chris.
You got it.
Another local athlete is heading to the Paris Olympics. Team Canada announcing today its roster for the women's basketball team. Among the 12 players announced to the squad are Chatham's Bridget Carleton, as well as teammates Kayla Alexander, Shay Cawley, and Sammy Hill. Carleton, Alexander, and Cawley played in Tokyo, making this their second Olympics games. In her Olympic debut, Carleton played the second most minutes on Team Canada and tied as the team's #2 scorer with 34 points. The Ford government says its cuts to red tape will save people and Ontario businesses over $1 billion this year. CBC News obtained details of how the government arrived at that figure. We have that story coming up. A recent court ruling in Ontario paves the way for a potentially explosive lawsuit by a woman police officer. Sergeant Nicole Whiteway blew the whistle on alleged bullying, harassment, corruption, and abuse of power in a regional police force. She's suing for more than $40 million. CBC's Julie Ireton has the story.
Sergeant Nicole Whiteway's statement of claim reads like a Hollywood script, but the allegations in her lawsuit are serious and shocking. Whiteway has been with the Durham Regional Police Service for close to 30 years. She filed a sexual harassment complaint against a supervisor in 2016. Soon after, she says fellow cops not only ignored but made worse the violent domestic abuse she was suffering at the hands of her ex-husband. She says the officers asked her ex for dirt on her, and they didn't protect her when she needed it. Her former husband was later convicted for assaulting her on multiple occasions. He was sent to jail. Whiteway launched her lawsuit against the Durham force a couple years ago. The defendants argued it should be treated as a labor grievance, but recently a judge in Ottawa ruled the suit can move ahead through the civil court. Kelly Donovan is watching this case closely.
When you start to face any form of abuse or you start to witness some internal corruption and abuses of power, as in Nicole's case, where she was the victim of that, there are very few places you can turn to for help. So Nicole's case, I believe, is going to open the door for more people to access justice through the court system.
Nicole Whiteway's lawyer tells CBC he's already hearing from other police whistleblowers from across Ontario. The sergeant's allegations have not been proven in court, and her case could take years to work through the system. The lawyer representing the Durham police told CBC not to contact defendants. No statements of defense have yet been filed. Julie Ireton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Ford government says its cuts to red tape will save people and Ontario businesses over $1 billion this year. CBC News obtained details of how the government arrived at that figure. A big portion of the savings goes to developers. Our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley, has the story.
Ontario is open for business.
Since his election in 2018, Premier Doug Ford has made a big deal about what he calls red tape.
We've cut reams and reams of job-killing red tape, saving businesses $400 million. We've cut red tape and regulations over $700 million. We're reducing the cost in the red tape by $1 billion.
So, what's behind those figures? I asked the government to show me its math. Turns out the two biggest red tape cuts benefit developers to the tune of more than $400 million a year. The government says developers will save more than $250 million this year because the province banned cities from imposing parking minimums on new housing near transit hubs, and another $160 million because of its cap on education development charges. Those are the fees that school boards can levy on new housing so they can buy land for new schools.
These aren't really savings, they're not the result of any kind of improved efficiency. They may have saved developers some money. And in fact, what's happened is it's come at the additional cost of reducing revenue to our school boards.
Another big beneficiary? Employers. They're saving $91 million from the government's changes to the Employment Standards Act, such as scrapping paid sick days. The most frequent target of the government's red tape cuts? The Environment Ministry. Nearly 1/4 of the more than 200 measures target environmental regulations.
It's quite possible that some of these changes do reduce actual red tape, and we've got no problem with simplifying process as long as the outcomes are the same. The problem here is that, particularly with respect to these land use planning and endangered species changes, the Ontario Water Resources Act changes, it doesn't look like that's what's happening.
The Minister of Red Tape Reduction, Mike Harris Jr., was not available for an interview. In a statement, he says the government's initiatives have streamlined regulations, stimulated economic growth, and led to the building of more homes. And he says the measures do all that while maintaining the government's commitment to protecting the environment. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The shockwaves continue to roll through the American justice and political systems following a decision yesterday by the U.S. Supreme Court. We have that story coming up after the break. Restrictions on indoor water use have been dropped in Calgary. They were triggered by a major water main break early last month.
And I'm relieved to say that today we can deliver some much needed good news. I'm incredibly pleased to share that indoor water use can now return to normal.
City crews continue to work to stabilize the water system, and a local state of emergency is expected to be lifted on Thursday. Residents had been asked to cut back on their usual number of showers, toilet flushes, and loads of laundry in an effort to reduce water by 25%. Restrictions on outdoor use remain in effect for the city and surrounding communities. Hurricane Beryl is closing in on Jamaica. It's now strengthened to a dangerous Category 5 storm and has already left a trail of destruction in the southeast Caribbean. People in Jamaica are beaching boats and boarding up windows, preparing for the storm's arrival. The hurricane already made landfall on several smaller islands in the Caribbean. At least 6 people were killed. This is the earliest Category 5 storm in the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Central American basin. Scientists say the unusually early timing and storm's rapid strengthening is partly due to warmer ocean temperatures. The shockwaves continue to roll through the American justice and political systems following yesterday's decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. The controversial ruling shields a president from prosecution for official actions while in office. The ramifications could be immense. CBC's Richard Madden has the latest.
Both the current and former president are giving two starkly different reactions to that historic Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity. Not only has the High Court defined a whole new set of presidential powers, it also wrote official presidential acts cannot be used as evidence in a trial. Team Trump is celebrating the ruling that now shields him from any criminal prosecution while conducting official acts in office. It's a big win for him, but a major setback to his criminal case, where he's charged with trying to overturn the 2020 election and the violence leading up to January 6th. It also means that trial won't start until after Election Day in November. President Joe Biden, meantime, is sounding the alarms, warning if Trump is reelected, this court ruling would only embolden him to abuse the power of the office.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
Now we're already seeing the domino effect from this landmark decision. Prosecutors in New York have agreed to delay Trump's sentencing in that hush money conviction, initially set for next Thursday, so the judge can review the impact of this decision. Trump's lawyers argued his presidential tweets and testimony from his former White House staffer Hope Hicks were official presidential acts.
What we have in New York is a situation where a substantial number of official acts of the presidency, things that we believe are official acts, were used as evidence to support the charges in that New York trial. We believe that that corrupts that trial, that indicates that that jury verdict needs to be overturned, and at the very least, we deserve a new trial.
It's ultimately up to the judge to decide whether to postpone the sentence, but with both sides in agreement, it's expected he will. Now, presidential immunity could also impact Trump's classified documents case in Mar-a-Lago and the election subversion case in Georgia. Was Trump's call to its Secretary of State to, quote, find the votes, an official presidential act, or a private one? And while the court did not give Trump full immunity, Team Trump are taking victory laps. From a political, legal, and delay perspective, they appear to be winning the battle for now. Richard Madden, CBC News, Washington.
You now have a chance to see the British royal family's Scottish holiday home up close. For the first time in its over 170-year history, Balmoral Castle opened its doors to the public yesterday. Tickets, which cost £100 or 170 Canadian dollars, were all scooped up soon after they went on sale in April. Visitors get a guided tour of the castle, including its entrance hall, family dining room, and library. The royal retreat in the Scottish Highlands was considered late Queen Elizabeth's favorite place. Balmoral is where her final public picture was taken days before she died on September 8th, 2022. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.